some of the women, they don't have an end goal in mind. And I'm like, if you don't have an end goal in mind, how do you know when you've made it? If you don't have a definition of success or you don't know what that looks like, how do you know when you've achieved it?
Hello, 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 and welcome back to the My Future Business Show. My name is Rick Nusky. I'm your host. Now, with podcasts, you can take us anywhere and everywhere, and I'm getting some great feedback about the show. So, thank you very much for your support. It's wonderful. Keep it coming through. Now, on today's show, I have the pleasure of welcoming holistic coach and strategic consultant Nicole Wright. Welcome to the show, Nicole.
Well, thank you for having me.
Absolutely a pleasure to have you here. Now, you and I will be talking about the importance of transitioning from entrepreneur to CEO, mistakes most entrepreneurs make, and your 12-month program that moves women from entrepreneur to rockstar CEO with elegance and ease. So, where are you calling in from today, Nicole?
Memphis, Tennessee.
Oh, beautiful. Has that been home forever?
Um, it's where I grew up. It's where
Yep.
I was born.
Mm.
I've lived in Illinois. I've lived in Ohio, but I moved back here around 5, 6 years ago.
Okay. What drew you back? What do you love about the place?
Well, mostly it's because one of our children, she got sick,
Right.
and the cold weather really made it worse for her.
Mm.
So we moved back down here since it's a lot warmer, and
Right.
it doesn't make her rheumatoid arthritis flare up as much.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, look, I know that you personally have a lot of challenges, and in a little while we're going to be talking about those. But before we do, and we switch gears to focus on that, Nicole, tell us a little bit about what you enjoy doing in your pastime. Do you have any hobbies, or do you like movies? What do you think?
If you've ever watched South Park, they had they had an episode where the parents were watching a lot of true crime, and they referenced it and they called it murder porn. That's what I watch. I watch the ID channel every day, all day when I get a chance to. So that's what I watch.
I'm a Prime person. I discovered Amazon Prime not that long ago, and it's changed my life. So,
I have that too. I have that too, and I do like the ones that they have for free. So I hate the ones that you gotta buy because I'm like, I hate it.
yeah, I've already paid for
Ah,
that. Do you like
ah.
music? Are you a music lover?
I'm okay with music. The iTunes, they get me. I'm
Yep.
like, okay, I gotta load up on some iTunes and go ahead and do that. But I'm more of a Cody person now.
All
I kind
right.
of cut the cord with the cable.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
I love it.
I cut the cord with cable, and that's been a huge improvement over the cable bill.
Oh, I
So now
bet.
I have more for the iTunes now. So
Yeah. Very good. Very good. Now I don't know about you, but when I was growing up, I always had pets in the house. Do you have a pet?
no, I'm
No.
scared of every animal
Oh,
known to
really?
God. Yes.
Why do you think that is?
Oh, I've tried. I've taken even when I took my younger kids, taking them to the pet store
Yeah.
when they
Yeah.
were little,
Yeah. Yeah.
I took them and I stayed by the front door.
Oh, wow.
I took them to the zoo and I was like, okay, I'm going to try to get through this. And there's one animal that I'm petrified, have phobias about,
Oh.
and I don't go near them. And my dad used to love them, and we went by there, and it was show and tell, and they had one, and it slithered on me, and I passed out.
Oh. Yeah. Wow. You sound like my wife. She doesn't like things that scurry or slither. Tell me, when you were growing up, who did you have in your life that you looked up to?
My dad,
Tell us about him.
he was he was just an amazing. My mom and dad, they got divorced when I was about 10,
Mm.
and so I really had it hard because every 2 weeks I would go and I would stay with one, and then every 2 weeks I go back to another. So
Yes, yes.
I never really had, like stable friends or stable anything because every 2 weeks I was packing a suitcase,
Yes.
going to different. But I was always a daddy's girl. So when he passed like 5, 6 years ago, that really hit me really hard.
I
But
bet.
I've always looked up to my dad.
Yeah, tell me, what do you think is the one thing above all other things that he taught you that you apply in your life today, do you think?
to have self-respect and don't ever compromise that for anything or for no one.
Now, I can only imagine, and I'd love for you to share with us your story. I know that you had to live with, and now please excuse me if I pronounce this incorrectly, Chiari malformation. Can you tell us about that?
It's Chiari malformation. I found out when I was 31 years old. It is a birth defect.
Mm.
And I'm like, okay, if it's a birth defect, how come nobody found this at birth? Most adults, they don't normally even find it until they're dead and they find it at the autopsy.
Wow, that's incredible,
So
isn't it?
it's a rare condition, and what it is that the tonsils in your brain, they herniate and they break away from the cerebrum and they start attaching themselves to my spinal cord. So I got to the point where I couldn't swallow. My vision was blurry. I
Mm.
couldn't hardly speak. I couldn't drive. I couldn't hardly walk. My blood pressure wouldn't go down. And so they kept trying to get everything down. And that's when my neurologist said, we're going to send you to a neurosurgeon.
Yep.
So they found out that I was like 10 millimeters herniated. But then my daughter, she was sick at the same time. So I said, well, she's admitted, so I can't do anything about this right now. So I just put that on the back burner to deal with her health. And every year it would herniate another millimeter. So it went from 10 millimeters to 17. And I had to have a brain surgery at 2015. And the doctor who did it made it worse. So I had to go see a specialist in 2017
Mm.
that corrected what the first doctor did.
Mucked up.
But I still have lingering effects from what the first doctor did. They don't cure you from it. They just get it where it doesn't get worse.
Doesn't get worse. Now, I've been doing a little bit of research on it, and I wonder, what has it done for your mindset? Because I feel like it's made you stronger, given all of the things that you're now doing in your business. Tell us a little bit about how it's changed your view on life.
Well, I don't believe in the word impossible anymore. After going through 2 brain surgeries, the word I can't is not in my vocabulary.
Mm-hmm.
Because once you go through something like that, then you know what? I can make the impossible possible. It kind of changes your way of thinking, and it moves you to like, you know what? No, I can do that. I don't know how it's going to get done, but I'm going to, instead of thinking outside of the box, I'm going to think like there is no box.
That's incredible feedback. Thank you for sharing. Now, you're really somebody who seems to be taking advantage of all the life experiences that have come your way. But what makes life worthwhile for you right now? Is it your family? Is it your friends? Is it your business? Is it the people you work with?
I get satisfaction knowing that the mission for me is for that women are empowered and they are able to level themselves up, level their business, and then they're able to do the same for their clients. So I get satisfaction from that. And then I have 4 grandchildren now. So I am on the path of now is like I get to leave generational wealth.
Yes, absolutely. What do you think you can teach them?
Anything is possible.
Anything's
You
possible.
know, you can shoot for the moon. And if you don't get there, the stars are there.
This is wonderful. I appreciate you sharing your story, a bit of your story, because I think it gives a real good level of context to the call behind why it was that you're doing what you're doing now. So, what did inspire you to become a holistic coach, and what is a holistic coach?
I started out coaching all men to begin with.
Mm.
And that was back on the MySpace days, long time ago. So there were guys who wanted to get into the rap industry. And then my husband was a music producer at that time. So everything was going fine. And then I had one detective to come approach me about one of my clients' form of compensation.
Oh,
And so I said, you know what? That's it for me. I'm not about to get caught up in anything that I can't
no,
get myself out of.
no.
So we're done with that. So I decided what I did was I signed up with a lot of temporary agencies. because I'd already graduated and had a Bachelor of Professional Studies in organizational leadership.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to get placed in many functions, in many roles, because I know I wanted to own my own business again, and I wanted to get my feet wet in every single function that there was.
Yeah.
And I was at an interview, and I just so happened to look up at the organizational chart. I'm like, there's about 50, 60 pictures up there, and only two are women. And it's one over customer service and one over human resources. And it just infuriated me. I'm like, look, I just got through graduating college, and there was more women there than men. I'm like, we're capable of being over accounting. We're capable of being over finance. We're capable of being over engineering. I mean, we can do more than human resources and customer service. So I just left the interview, and I started making plans then, but then I hit a roadblock when I
Mm-hmm.
got sick.
Yeah.
When I got sick and had the brain surgery,
Yeah.
everything from 2006 to 2013 is a complete blur.
I bet.
Can't tell you what happened up in there. I had a bounder. I had some binders. One of the binders was Knowledge Trend. That was when I was a homeschool consultant. Then I had another binder, which was Active Data Services when I was doing taxes. Then I had another binder, but it had no name to it. And that it had the mission and the vision, and it's everything that I'm doing now. So I just took that, and that's when Mahone Consulting was born.
I find it really interesting that the things we write some time ago, often years ago, become the things that we do today. Have you found that?
I mean, I'm like, oh my gosh, when I read that, I'm like, it resonated so much to the depths of my soul. I'm like, I am so glad that I wrote this, that I kept that.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, in terms of the term holistic coach, can you explain what services that includes? What do you do?
That is looking at the business as a whole and
Right,
looking at the business owner as a whole.
right.
Because most of the time, it's getting to those questions, getting to that business owner to dig down deep and pull those answers that they have that's well beneath the surface.
Yeah,
That's why there's a lot of, when we get to that mindset, there's a lot of the journaling and a lot of the meditations that gets them to dig deep and do a lot of introspection, because there's a lot that they don't even know that they have the power to do until they get there and just really sit still and let the subconscious and the conscious get in an alignment.
come to the fore.
Yes.
Now, how important is it for the people that you're working with transition away from being an entrepreneur to an actual CEO? Is that something that every person should be trying to do?
I think that if you want to scale, this is something that you want to scale and you want to get to that 6-figure and 7-figure and beyond, it's something that you have to do.
Right.
And there's even, what I call a CEO-preneur, which is a combination of the two.
Yeah.
You keep the CEO part and you still keep that risk taker of an entrepreneur, but you know that you have to delegate. And that's the one thing that a lot of entrepreneurs just don't, they treat the business like their baby,
Yeah.
when you have to think of it like a machine, something that operates without you, because that's when it's able to go ahead and work for you and not you working in it. Instead of you working in your business can work for you. But if
Absolutely.
you keep it like your business, then it's dependent upon you to work,
Yep. Yep. You become a cog
which
in the
may,
wheel.
yeah, and you become the pitchfork. It can't function without you, and you'll never scale like that.
This seems to me to come back to that mindset that we touched on earlier. What sort of satisfaction do you get from seeing people that go from that entrepreneurial mindset to a CEO's mindset? How does it make you feel?
It's monumental, because I know that, okay, it's like my job is done. It's like feeling proud that they took what I said, and they took it to heart
And did it.
and they received it, and then they're implementing it. You have to be able to implement it in your own business and in your life for it to pay off.
Well, we're going to talk about your program in a little while, but I was also checking out other social presence that you have, and I found your MOCHA framework. I love it. Tell us what that's about.
It's a framework that I came up with. It's the meat and potatoes of the program,
Yeah.
where M stands for manifestation, and it's where you do the visualizing and the journaling, so your subconscious mind and your conscious mind can be in sync with
Yeah.
one another.
Mm-hmm.
And the O is for when you're optimizing your offers and your messaging, because that is everything. That is your business.
Yeah.
And if you do not get that right, then you have no business.
Mm-hmm.
You can't get leads. You can't convert those to sales. I mean, everything lives and breathes with your offer and your messaging. And then the C is when you're choosing that vehicle for the transformation for your client. Is it going to be group coaching? Is it going to be one-on-one coaching? Is it going to be a membership? Is it going to be a retreat? Is it going to be a mastermind? There's so many different vehicles that you can use
Mm-hmm.
to take a person from misery to magnificent.
That's definitely a transformation, isn't it? And that framework gets them there.
Yeah.
Can you just tell me, can anyone become an entrepreneur and then even on to a CEO, or is it if you're an employee and you want to shift and start your own business, can people do that?
If you have the mindset and you have that risk taker ability in you, and you're that hungry and you're driven,
Mm.
then yes, you can be an entrepreneur. You can be like, hey, this 9 to 5 is just not for me. I want more out of life. I don't want to be dictated. I don't want anybody telling me when I go to lunch. I don't want anybody to tell me when I work. I don't want to be confined.
I know that we've touched on mindset, but are there any other main mistakes that you see entrepreneurs making, especially startups and those who have no experience?
I say when they don't have an offer
Yep.
for that lead, because everything begins with an offer, but
Mm-hmm.
then they don't have that lead magnet that will draw in that offer, that lead. You have to do that quid pro quo. So in order to start that relationship of trust, you have to get that person to start building a relationship. And the lead magnet, it can be a quiz funnel. It can be an ebook. It can be an actual book. It could be an action guide, a how-to. People love to learn, believe it or not. They do love to learn, and they love learning about themselves. And
Yeah.
that's why quiz funnels have really taken off, because it's really the one of the best things you can do. Everything since the privacy laws have changed.
So if somebody's starting up a business and they don't really actually have an idea, but they've got that spark and they say, look, I really think I can do something here. How would you go about, generating ideas for a new business, or should you already have one?
First, I would tell them to get out a good old pen and paper and
Mm-hmm.
start writing down what are their passions.
Yep.
What are they passionate about? And then on the other column, see what gives them purpose, and see if any of those overlap. Because 9 times out of 10, if you get the ones that overlap, that's going to be the killer one right there.
That's the one to follow up on. Now, you and I spoke about earlier about your focus on women just after you graduated, only two in the, I guess, the business structure. Since that time, how many women that you've worked with who open businesses transition to actually becoming a CEO? Are you seeing that number is increasing and improving?
Yes, it has most. I know it's in the mid hundreds. I don't know if I made it to the thousand, but I know it's in the mid hundreds. I know it's been over 500. I know I'm over 500.
So tell me, why do you think that women are still largely underrepresented in industry?
there is still this myth that women's path should be marriage and parenthood. There's a little bit of old school thinking. And don't get me wrong, because I've followed down that same path. I just decided, hey, I'm going to do both.
So tell me, what are some of the challenges that are still faced by women? What is it?
I mean, they still, even when they do and they get their businesses, they don't receive as much funding as men get, especially from the venture capitalist world,
Mm.
from the federal contracting. They don't get as much money as the other, because you get it from being a veteran, uh, minority, and you
Yep.
have women, and they don't get as much of the funding.
Why do you think women would make great CEOs?
Women have empathy, and that is empathy and nurturing are great qualities to have as a CEO, because you can lead a team and you can put a team together. That's much better when you have those qualities.
Do you think that men and women should work side by side in this respect? Because there are some strengths that men might have that women don't have, and vice versa. Would you agree with that?
I agree that they can draw on each other's strength
Mm.
if they can just put ego aside and just draw strength from one another. Then they can be a better team.
Absolutely. Now, tell us a little bit about, I guess, the pain possibly behind the process of watching one of your clients transitioning from that base level entrepreneur to a CEO. What are some of the, I guess, the growth pains that happen?
First of all, when they realize that, okay, they have to relinquish control, that is hard for some people to do,
Yeah, yeah.
especially when they're mostly type A personality.
Mm-hmm.
That's asking a lot, and they have to literally fight with themselves to give up control and say, hey, and I'm like, no, I know you're used to doing all of the things, but if you want to get here and you want to get up there, you got to let somebody else do this over here.
Do you find that that type of personality can actually do that, or do they often say, "Look, it's a bit too scary for me"?
It takes them longer.
Yeah,
It does. It literally takes them longer to come around to doing that. Or what they may do is, if you tell them that they need to delegate project A and project B,
mm,
or they may let them do project C and D, knowing that C and D is not what they need to be doing. They need to be over project A and B.
yeah, yeah.
But no, they didn't want to give project A and B away because they feel like that's their baby. And trying to get them not to look at their business as their baby, because babies are dependent upon you to function. And you do not want to build your business that way.
No,
You want to build them like a machine,
yeah.
an ATM machine to be more specific.
Now, tell me, Nicole. I know that you've got so much experience and knowledge in this space. Do you think you'll end up writing a book about the things that you know and the work that you do?
I have thought about that, especially since now that there are literally programs where I can just speak into it and it will type the words
Yeah,
as
it's
I
wonderful.
talk.
Yep.
Gosh.
Well, I think that's on the cards, Nicole. I think now that you've been on the show, we're going to expect you to write a book and come and talk about it. Now, given that we're at this point of the call, I think it's time to start talking about your specific coaching program called the Six Figure CEO Goddess Group Coaching Program. Tell us about it.
Yes, it's a year-long program. It has 12 modules, and
Yep.
so each module lasts about a month, and it's literally taking them through each phase. Like, we start off with the game plan, just like an overall 30,000 foot view of what it's going to be like.
Yep.
What do you want your business to be like? What do you want your personal life to be like? Because you have to know what is your game plan? What are you in for? And I noticed that sometimes some of the women, they don't have an end goal in mind.
Oh.
And I'm like, if you don't have an end goal in mind, how do you know when you've made it? If you don't have a definition of success, or you don't know what that looks like, how do you know when you've achieved it? So that's more than likely, that's like one of the first things
Yep, that they have to
that I
establish.
have to have them to do, is for them to define what their road to success is. You know, the big picture and the goal setting, and what's your revenue goal, and what is your purpose. And then we go right from there, and then we go with, begin with the end in mind, which I love that, because I got that from Stephen Covey with his 7 principles of highly effective people.
Yes,
You
read
know,
that.
when
Yep.
yep, when you begin with the end in mind, which that's the way I look at everything. Start with the results and reverse engineer and work your way backwards.
Yep.
If you approach everything like that, then you won't fail, because
Always
you
get
will
the
have
result.
covered every base.
Yep. Do you meet multiple times a month?
But believe it or not, there's a group coaching call that's every week,
Every week. Yep.
every week, and then there's a separate, what I call a power hour call,
Mm.
that's once a quarter, and that's for to go over what that lunch strategy is, to see what you're going to do for that quarter with your lunch, that's going to go toward that yearly revenue goal, so that you can hit your 6 figures.
I like the fact that you're so in contact with the people that you work with. Now, you talked earlier about having a system in place to, start building that trust. Do you talk about the operational side of the business as well, and creating lead magnets and all that sort of stuff?
Especially in the module about marketing, we talk about lead magnets and attraction marketing versus initiative marketing,
Mm.
um, and about mastering your offer, knowing your niche. And I create a Google Sheet workbook for each module. So therefore, every module, you're going to build on everything. You will have something to do in every module, and it's going to get you one step closer. And relationship marketing, which I believe is phenomenal, which is what I'm doing right now on Google Meet with you,
Yes,
which is podcasting.
of
And
course.
I'm like, I don't know why businesses are not doing this, because hey, it's a lot cheaper than Facebook ads.
Oh, yes. Now you're onto it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, well, look, do you have a Facebook group where people can find you, or how do you get together?
Well, actually, as soon as they come in, then they're immediately go into the Facebook group.
Uh-huh.
And yes, and called Purpose to Profit. That's the name of the Facebook group.
Excellent. Well, look, we can make sure that those links are available after the call. But tell us, what are people going to find when they visit your website, Nicole?
Oh, they're gonna find a lot of, especially with the resources, the library resources. There are a lot of worksheets and stuff that has to do with kindness on
Yep.
there.
Yep.
I I feel like, just as a nation, there's just a lot of evilness things
Mm.
that go on. I mean, I turn on the news and I get to the point where I don't want to turn on the news,
Yeah.
um, because I go to the world news and I'm like, oh my gosh, another shooting. I mean,
Yes.
come
Yes.
on. It's just,
It's crazy, isn't
I'm
it?
like, I'm like, when can we just
Get along.
coexist? Just
Yep.
coexist.
Just get along. Well,
Yeah.
it's certainly a path that we should be working towards together. And I wonder, when people want to find Mahone Consulting, what's the actual domain address where they're going to go?
They could go to mahoneconsulting.com, or they can even go to sixfigureceo.com/waitlist, and that's the wait list for the upcoming group
Because
coaching.
you do an intake every so many months, is that right?
Yes.
If anybody's on this call and you've been watching or listening, should I say, with open ears, and this sounds like something that would benefit you to get that direction that you need in your business, to work with somebody who's already walked the path before you, certainly reach out to Nicole at her website, Mahone Consulting, sorry, that's MAHONE consulting.com. I'll make sure to put the link back to all of the work that Nicole's doing, and she in turn, once you start your part in the program, will invite you to the Facebook group, and you can go from there. So with all that being said, Nicole, thank you so very much for joining me on the My Future Business Show today.
It's been a pleasure talking with you today, and thank you for having me.